Good morning and welcome to Heart's Connection, a worship service from Bridge Street United Church in Belleville, Ontario.
Good morning. As we come together in worship, we light the Christ candle.
It reminds us that the love of Christ is always with us. God is with us. We are not alone.
We are not alone. We live in God's world.
We believe in God,
who has created and is creating,
who has come in Jesus, the Word made flesh,
to reconcile and make new,
who works in us and others by the Spirit.
we trust in God.
We are called to be the church,
to celebrate God's presence,
to live with respect in creation,
to love and serve others,
to seek justice and resist evil,
to proclaim Jesus, crucified and risen, our judge and our hope.
In life, in death, in life beyond death.
God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God.
Please join me in the responsive reading. O God, open my lips, and my mouth shall proclaim your praise. I pray to you, O God. You hear my voice in the morning. At sunrise, I offer my prayer and wait for your answer.
This morning's scripture reading is taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 34 to 40, and chapter 25, verses 34 to 40. The first reading is about the great commandment. When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they came together, and one of them, a teacher of the law, tried to trap him with a question. "Teacher," he asked, "which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important commandment. The second most important commandment is like it. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. The whole law of Moses and the teachings of the prophets depend on these two commandments." The final judgment. Then the king will say to the people on his right, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father. Come and possess the kingdom which has been prepared for you since the creation of the world. I was hungry, and you fed me, thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you received me in your homes, naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you took care of me, in prison, and you visited me." The righteous will then answer him, "When, Lord, did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we ever see you a stranger and welcome you in our homes, or naked and clothe you? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you, whenever you did this for one of the least important of these brothers of mine, you did it for me." May the Lord add his blessing to the reading of his sacred word.
Good morning. In place of a message or sermon based on today's scriptures, your worship team decided to have Dr. Ian Sutherland walk us through the recent renovations at Bridge Street Church. Ian has been at Bridge Street Church since 2009 and has been part of the development and evolution process on governance reform, enhancement of our outreach programs, and strategic planning for the future. He has participated in the meal ministry program since that time due to his interest in and caring for people in our community who experience food insecurity in their day-to-day lives. In 2012, Reverend Dr. Bill Smith asked Ian to take on the role of co-coordinator of the meal ministry, along with Rick Hammond and Sue Catherwood, with Ian taking on the responsibilities for liaison with the larger community, planning, and budget. In 2014, the meal ministry program expanded from TGIF, handout meals on Fridays, and In From the Cold, 6 weeks of hot suppers in January and February, to daily meals all through the year and end-of-the-month takeout meals. During the COVID pandemic shutdown, indoor meals were not possible, so the daily handout lunch program was established. At the same time, renovations to the downstairs area of the church were completed, including completion of a state-of-the-art kitchen, an air exchanger in the gym area to accommodate inside meals, and laundry and shower facilities for anyone in our community who needs access to these services. Ian has been part of the planning and implementation process for these changes at every step of the way. We welcome Ian now to walk us through our church building and converse with personnel who are closely involved with managing and providing these services to people in need in our community.
Good afternoon. Ian Sutherland here again. I'm with Doug Moses, who is a director
of the John M. and Bernice Parrott Foundation. For those of you who are not aware, the Parrott Foundation has provided all or most of the funding for Bridge Street United Church's new elevator, new washrooms, renovation of kitchen, new ventilation system in the gymnasium, washers, dryers, and barrier-free showers for the drop-in center. So it's my absolute pleasure to say thank you so much to Doug on behalf of Bridge Street Church for the Parrott Foundation, and ask him if he has any comments that he'd like to address to us on behalf of the Parrott Foundation.
Well, first of all, Ian, thank you very much for those kind words, but again, there is a team at the Parrott Foundation, and we are very fortunate to have a great group of people trying to guide the foundation through the many years. Obviously, we'll start off with Lyle Van Cleef, the Honorable Lyle Van Cleef, who is our chairman or president, and he is so helpful with everything that we do. We have Donna Gowthorpe, who's our office manager, and she's also a director of the Parrott Foundation. And last but not least, Linda Gray. Linda is the daughter of Marguerite Cook, who worked alongside Jack for many, many years and was the first chairman of the foundation, and myself. So we are always interested in helping out citizens of the Quinte area. The foundation itself wants to help out the quality of life and the wellness of citizens in the Quinte area. And over the years, we've put out millions of dollars, and with, like the church as a prime example, when there's great leadership with you, Ian, and your application, and the people and the volunteers, the army of volunteers behind that Bridge Street United Church, and being Jack's church and Bernice's church, the John M. and Bernice Foundation certainly wants to help out organizations such as yourselves to help out the food ministry that is now so successful and doing so much hard work in the community. We want to act as a catalyst for that, for the wellness and betterment of the citizens of the Quinte area.
Doug, thank you very much. And on behalf of the Army of Volunteers, of whom you and your wife are two, I thank you so very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
My pleasure to introduce Rick Hammond, the chief cook of the meal program. Rick became one of the co-coordinators of the meal program back in 2012, and as chief cook has worked at developing recipes, and probably under his stove we've made in the range of 100,000 meals since that time. Wow. Rick is going to take us in a tour through the new kitchen.
Much better than it was before. It's safe and very hygienic. Over this way is the walk-in fridge, which is one of our most important new features. That provides the ability to stage food for serving and of course for all the perishables. Over here to my right is the prep area. There are 4 sinks here. We can get 4 or 5 people around this counter for doing all the prep of vegetables for larger dishes, and also for the sandwich production and all the ingredients prepping for soup and whatnot. To my left is the meat area, which is very, very important part of the kitchen in order to keep hygienically the meat away from other areas, and it's a meat-only area. So when you leave this area, you have to wash your hands, and there's no cross-contamination. Next to the meat area is our convection oven, which holds many more racks than this, and we can get up to 16 pans of shallow hotel pans in here if we're doing stews, or we mostly use it for baking. Over to my right here, starting at the top, is an incredible vent hood. It looks after both stoves. It's top of the line and extremely efficient. The two ovens provide 16 burners, 4 large oven spaces, and gives us the ability to either cook with gas or electrically, depending on what we're doing. So the electric elements are good for simmering, the gas elements are good for controlling whatever you need to do. They're much more accurate that way. There are shelving units on each end of the stove with bowls and pots and pans. Over here to the left is our baking area. But actually, before I get to that, there is a pantry. I've been reminded, I forgot. And this holds all of our dry goods for baking, our knives in a safe place, and our spices. A very efficient space, small but efficient. Then, as I was going to say, this is our baking area. We have a designated baking area because we do a lot of baking, especially for the lunches. And if we get back in from the cold meals. Above it, very organized, everything's labeled. All of our utensils, measuring cups, pans for muffins and anything to do with baking. And underneath, the same thing. On this side, we have a hand washing sink and a coffee area. Now I'll bring you right over to our dish pit. Before I do that, we'll stop and have a look at our double fridge here. And this is used for a lot of the lunch prep and staging of food for lunch and some condiments. Come down here to the dish pit area. Very efficient, straightforward, which it needs to be. We have our loading racks up here. We have an extra dishwasher down here and our sanitizer down at the end. So we rinse, pre-wash if necessary, through the sanitizer, and then it comes out at this end. And from here, we take the rack and we put it over to our drying area, which is to my left. And that completes our wonderful kitchen tour.
So Rick, in a day, how many meals can the kitchen produce?
Well, as an example, this past Wednesday we did almost 600 meals.
We're really privileged to have Rob Woodall walk us through the newly renovated showers, toilets, laundry dryers here, which are a real part of the drop-in. And Rob is just such a critical piece of keeping all of these things clean and functional. So Rob, over to you.
It doesn't really look like it, but this was the former nursery where there was 3 cribs in here. Totally different now. The laundry equipment at the end, tables for folding. Pretty much used all day. One of the new showers, washrooms. This would be the regular one, the handicapped one is next door.
So Judy, this is a standard shower, as Rob says, and the barrier-free one, which has to be made if you're doing 2 showers, is next door.
And bars for handicapped people?
Yes. This was the old, right from here, the old washroom that was in the
Yes.
in the nursery, right from this wall.
Good Sunday morning again. Ian Sutherland here with Steve Vandehoof. We've been talking about community engagement projects with the new renovations. Steve is the project manager for the community engagement team. Today we're talking about integrated coordinated access. You're probably aware that in 2017 and 2018, the community engagement team performed 2 homeless enumerations in Belleville, in fact the first. We're aware from our meal program and the enumerations that there certainly are a lot of poor people who are homeless and hungry. Integrated coordinated access is a community and county-wide attempt to resolve that. And I'll just ask Steve to talk a little bit about what it is and our specific role in it.
Thanks, Ian. I think talking about integrated coordinated access, focusing on those 2 words, gives an explanation of what it is and why it matters. From the meal programs and the drop-in here at the church, we see the day-to-day needs of many people who come through our doors for food, for shelter, for hygiene, and a variety of other things. Some that we're able to meet, some that we're not able to meet. Integrated coordinated access seeks to coordinate services and organizations in the community so that those who are providing services work together in a coordinated way to achieve community level goals like preventing and ending homelessness. Things that no organization is able to do on their own, but we have to work together and have a measure of organization beyond just each specific service provider in order to achieve those goals. And the integration part of that recognizes that oftentimes our service system works in silos. So you have health and justice and education and food and housing kind of working separately. But if we're going to meet the needs of individuals, we need to work across all of those systems. And so our role is to support the development of ways of working together that bring those organizations together, the policies and procedures, the governance, the technological systems that form that backbone of that organization as well, so that our organizations can work together to achieve those higher order community level goals.
Steve, the project has been funded externally, initially by the Federal Reaching Home Program, and subsequently to allow us to expand countywide by the Provincial Community Homelessness Prevention Initiative Program. Can you talk a little bit about what we hope to achieve and how we hope to leave it at the end of that funded period, 31 March 2024?
So as with any of these programs, they respond to funder requirements. Started with a federal requirement to coordinate homelessness services and expanded, as Ian says, to a broader kind of approach to systems reorientation that includes provincially funded services all through Hastings County, who is the key partner and driver of this work in the community. Our role is in the development of that system. The development will be substantially completed next year, and then ongoing support for maintenance after that. The project overall is funded through March 2024 in a support role for its ongoing improvement, but the operation will be led by another organization.
And Steve, just as we finish, thank you very much for that complete explanation, and I know that you've a significant awareness of the complexity and multiplicity of the needs of the individuals in our communities. But I also like to take the opportunity to thank you for the marvelous, focused, concentrated, organized, thoughtful, future-looking approach that you've been taking to all of the community engagement team programs. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. How long has John Howard been in Belleville?
13 years.
And what background do you yourself bring to the drop-in at Bridge Street Church?
Absolutely. And I'll ask a clarifying question. The John Howard Society or myself personally?
Well, you've told us a little bit about John Howard. This is really more about yourself, if you're not uncomfortable answering that.
Yeah. Great. Well, I myself have a history. I come from a research and a youth services background. And a large part of my own experience and work experience has to do with participatory action research, is where it's really a method of a lot of how healthcare, or traditionally, or social services and other services that would refer to our guests as clients per se, have largely operated from an expertise perspective, where we have work experience, we have educational experience, and we oftentimes come to conclusions about what is needed to fix certain community level problems.
Yes.
But my background has largely been in trying to shift some of that to an empowerment focus of the people that we deal with directly, to let their voices be heard and to allow them to shape programming or shape treatment and to be heard and seen in the process, and so that the fullness of their person is recognized and valued, and that their perspectives are met and heard and appreciated. So I worked in research at Durham College for a while with youth, working on a new supportive housing model, and also in a drop-in service with youth experiencing homelessness or housing precarity.
Dan, thank you. Maybe another broad question. What value is the drop-in to those who use it?
Absolutely. So there's some really practical considerations. Since the pandemic, there has really been a desperate need for low barrier to access safe spaces where people can go and receive care, have their needs attended to, and just generally to be sheltered throughout the day, to avoid being out on the streets. But I say that though, but I think there's always the drop-in and of itself, and through Bridge Street's meal program, they can have their physical needs met. We also provide services such as phone, internet. We help with connections to other community-based resources, whether they're looking for addictions management, healthcare. The legal aid is a big part of what we do through the John Howard. But also there's a less nuts and bolts part that factors into what we do at the drop-in. I like to think that a lot of the suffering associated with poverty has always had a lot to do with being invisible or not having a voice, or when you're living on the streets, you're just about everything, whether or not you're experiencing mental health issues or addictions or what have you, all of that is under the public eye. So there's an element, I think, of shame and that is often associated with poverty that I think is sometimes missed. So what our space provides, in addition to resources, is also a space to come and to be welcomed as they are.
How many lunches would we be serving a day?
We're averaging now, the 7-day rolling average is 158 lunches a day.
Wow. And how many lunches have we served since March of 2020?
Well, we've just broken 58,000 lunches this week.
58,000 lunches since March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Diane, a pragmatic question. What is our cost per lunch?
$2.50.
And Bridge Street congregation will be happy to know that all of that cost has been funded externally. What partnership does Bridge Street have in the lunches?
Okay, so our first partnership was with the Enrichment Center for Mental Health, formerly known as
Canadian Mental Health Association.
Thank you. And they provide lunches 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then in November 2020, we partnered with Christchurch Anglican, and they provide us with one really hearty soup or one really hearty stew for once a week. We've been partnering with St. Thomas Church for quite a while, and they provide us with 240 frozen meals every month. And so the frozen meals are distributed on Fridays at the same time as the lunches are distributed. And then a new partnership is with the United Way, who has this great garden behind their facility on Harriet Street, and it's loaded with produce right now. This morning I picked lettuce, basil, and dill, and there's tomatoes, and there's tons of food there. It's amazing.
Diane, how many volunteers have been involved with the lunches and the frozen meals?
Okay, well, we're drawing on a base of about 300 volunteers now. On the program right now, we have 45 active volunteers every week. That will grow to 60 come August. Then I have a really active a substitute list of about 20. And then through the whole course, the 16 months, I would say at least 100 volunteers have gone through.
Right. And Diane, one of our partnerships is sunsetting with the Enrichment Center for Mental Health, which I think is why you were talking about more volunteers in August. Would you like to explain what we're going to be doing in place of ECMH?
Mm-hmm. So we will be taking on cooking out of Bridge Street with our volunteers 7 days a week, 7 lunches a week.
Can you tell us, having sort of set the table, so to speak, what would we serve at a lunch? What if we were coming in to get one of our lunches? What would we get?
Okay, you would get a hot soup, or once a week, a hot stew. You would get a sandwich, always filled with some sort of protein. A choice of either milk or juice or water. Home-baked baking. That's your lunch.
And a fruit.
And a fruit. Forgot the fruit.
And a fruit. Exactly right. Diane, I hadn't sort of preset this question to you, but do you have any personal reflections on what you've been involved with over the last year and a half?
It's been an incredible learning for me. Just seeing so many people in need of food and of so much else. I'm blown away by volunteers, by their dedication, their hard work. I'm impressed by the partnerships. They're so dedicated, committed, they follow through. Yeah. I mean, it's just, to me, an incredible place to be right now.
Good morning again. I'm with Christy Reeve. Christy, whom do you work for in Belleville?
Hastings Prince Edward Public Health.
Now, I understand you're one of our priority populations nurses. And what is that and how has that changed with COVID?
So I guess initially it's working with individuals who fall under the umbrella term of social determinants of health. So housing insecure, have some financial issues, maybe lower level of education, they aren't connected to their community, there's some employment difficulties. That was where I sort of started working with. And then when COVID came into the community, many of the services that this population would normally access unfortunately got closed down. So we decided, public health decided to be out in the community more, making that connection with these groups of individuals, trying to meet those immediate needs that they weren't able to meet due to COVID coming in. It's certainly, my role has evolved these last 17 months. Being out in the community has brought to light many of the issues that this population is having to deal with.
And you started actually coming to our lunch programs here a while ago as well.
Yes, as a volunteer, I did that as a volunteer initially, and then would pop in when the lunch program was on, just to check in.
Yes. So can you comment on the partnerships that have formed to bring the drop-in center together?
Absolutely, and again, I think COVID definitely brought us these agencies together, but the John Howard Society, the Grace Inn, having that connection with Bridge Street United Church, having us all come in under one roof has certainly made meeting the needs of this population much easier. We were all providing things in our separate areas and sort of siloed, but having us in one area, all working together to meet those needs, it's just working out perfectly.
So that actually kind of leads into the next question. What value is the drop-in to those who use it?
It's unbelievable. It is the dignity that someone can feel when they can come in and have a shower and know that they can have clean laundry, have their laundry done, and put clean clothes on when they come out, and have a meal, and that socialization with not only their peers but professionals when they do have a question, if they need some support through John Howard or the services that public health is providing. It makes them feel like they're human beings, that they're being treated with dignity and they haven't been forgotten, like I think many did have felt in the past. So I think this coming together is long overdue and is being well received by the people that are using it.
Thank you. Do you have any other comment that you'd like to make that we won't directly ask you about?
I look forward to this just growing and getting better and better, and possibly bringing in more agencies or more services once we sort of have that feedback from the clients about what they are interested or would like.
And Christy, in addition to the John Howard Society and Bridge Street Church, I really have to mention again Christy Reeve of Hastings Municipal Public Health. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
Hi, we're now in the gymnasium, and Judy is going to show you the mechanically engineered energy recovery ventilation system on our roof. Anybody got a phone? Russ? Good, Judy. Which has been designed really to enable elimination of all COVID viral loads from this, and enables seating and meeting inside the gym once again with social distancing involved. Also on the walls here, 18% of the surface area, calculated by Chris Morden, is covered with sound baffling, which has enabled the gymnasium once again to be a place where people can sing. So thank you for coming on our tour of your home. The community engagement team of Bridge Street is involved on your behalf with the drop-in center, with the meal program, with integrated coordinated access, working with the homeless. The meal program served 41,000 meals last year. You've seen the people that were involved with it. And Judy pointed out to me today that one of our scripture readings is Matthew 25, 34 to 40. And it is, as you might expect, for I was hungry and you gave me food, I was thirsty and you gave me drink, etc. Have we seen that scripture in life today? Welcome to your church home. Bye-bye for now.
With those words and images in mind, join us in singing the hymn, Through the Heart of Every City. A moment of silent reflection. Thank you for joining us for worship this morning. Please come back again next week at 10.
I thank you, Lord Jesus. You're greater and you live within me. And I'll sing praise forever. For greater are you that is in me than he that is in the world. You're wonderful, you fill me with joy. You are my morning song. The crowns fulfill at Calvary they fell. You are the hope in my arms. You triumph